Okay, class. So we're going to go over some of the things I discussed today in terms of tips. So this will be called Premiere Pro tips. So few of them, let's look at them. The first one I'm going to start with is a tool I didn't actually talk about today, but is the Zoom tool. So over here, you'll see, everybody look over here, the Zoom tool, and the keyboard shortcut is Z. And this allows you to then go put that tool over the area on your timeline that you want to expand. Okay, and you can just expand it. Now, the way to get out of it is to press the V tool, right? The V tool that comes back to your selection, right? But it's really helpful. It's particularly helpful. It can be very helpful with sound. If you open up a sound clip, right? And then you hit the Z button or Z, if you're from Great Britain, you can really get in there and see, you know, the waveforms, right? And then you can close it back up using your slider down here, okay? So the Z tool, Zoom, very, very helpful. Then we move up to the pen tool, right? And again, keyboard shortcut P, and this allows you to change. And if you just left click it, it adds another, you know, dot, which allows you to manipulate the volume. Very important that your volume never really goes above about minus over here, -6, right? And you always want it to be, basically you always want it to be somewhere between, you know, 18 and 6. This is sort of your awesome area for sound. So let's see in here. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You know, and then with sound, so if you have sound and dialogue, you would need to, you know, mix them, right? So you would mix the audio of a sound effect or the audio of a, so you can just delete these easily, of music, and you would create, you know, the balance, right? So if you have dialogue, you need that to, you know, be at a certain level, and then the sound needs to be at another level. Now, if you don't have any of these pen tool marks on here, right, then your audio, you can also adjust. If you're doing an overall adjustment, you use the V tool and you can bring it up and down, okay, the selection tool. Okay, and then we also talked about snapping, this button right here, over here, everybody. Snapping tool, which allows you to, if it's on, right, when you turn it on, it allows you to, like, I know right here, I want this cut to come in right at this piece of music. I can snap it over, and boom, it'll go right there, okay? If it's off, it, you know, then it's more, I've got to eyeball it, right? But the snapping tool allows, you know, either to the playhead, boom, right, or to the next cut, right? Look, you can push it back here, and it'll see that black line that pops up? That won't happen if the snapping tool is not on, right? So this brings stuff into a tight edit where there's no spaces, right? Okay, so the snapping tool, really fun tool. I talked about lassoing everything, right? You can lasso everything and move it. But then, of course, like, what if you really like the way the music is right here, and you lasso this and you move it, and then you're out of sync with your music or your dialogue? So therefore, you use this tool, the A tool, right? The selection forward tool, and that pushes everything to the right. So once you get into a big project, with lots of layers of stuff, you've got to, you know, you'll sort of make sure you got all your video tracks and all your audio tracks, right? And you can move them. Okay, so that's the A tool. Now, if you hit it again, yeah. So then you want to make sure it's all there. You got to, and then move it. And then make sure you click off it with the V tool, right? Or just click away from it and hit the V tool, because you got to be careful. Everything will remain selected for a little bit. We talked about the way you expand, right? You hover over these. You can expand them in order to help you see more of your track that you're editing, right? Very helpful. And then I can hit the Z tool and punch in there. So again, get more clarity. You always want to work with this sort of as big as you can in order to be precise, okay? Make sure to name your sequence, right? Your sequence is over here in your project window. That's really important. I think that's pretty much it, what I wanted to talk about in this. Obviously, these are all technical things. The most important thing is sort of your ideas, the things you're thinking about. But this is a good little just expansion of your repertoire here in the in the Premiere. The other thing, in terms of transitions, some of you are sort of working with transitions, and I know we talked about that a little earlier. You know, there's a lot of options, but like cross dissolves are certainly, you know, and then you can expand that cross dissolve if you want, which gets kind of weird. Right, but all this goes to different sort of storytelling, right? Everything has an impact. That has a very different impact than that cut, right? That has a different impact from going to a little black, right? Then we'll talk more about that. Okay, very good. This will be shared under Premiere editing tips.